Welcome to the Prado Museum. We're here again with our weekly session in English, a few moments before the museum opens on the social media programming. This is a project supported by our U.S. nonprofit, American Friends of the Prado Museum, and we thank the many friends and also the many amigos who support either American Friends or the Fundación Amigos del Museo del Prado, sister institutions that support this fabulous museum. And today we have something very special. We are celebrating the American Friends' recent donation to the museum in honor of Pilar Conde Gutierrez del Álamo of this jewel of the Renaissance, The Risen Christ by Giulio Clovio. And all of American Friends projects are made possible only thanks to our donors, and this donation is possible thanks to a very generous gift to American Friends made by Pilar Conde Gutierrez del Álamo, a collector in the United States of this work, exquisite work, a few years ago. And we would like to thank her on behalf of everyone again and share that she says she only wishes for all of us to enjoy it as much as she has. And we invite you to visit now if you can, because it's on view until the 9th of March, as afterwards it will rest for best conservation of the piece. Now, who is Giulio Clovio? Giulio Clovio was born in 1498 in a city or town of Grizan, which is currently Croatia, but at that time was territory of the Republic of Venice. And however, he carried out his artistic career mostly in Rome, primarily at the service of Cardinal Alessandro Farnese, who was his great patron. And throughout his long life in Rome, he came into contact with some of the greatest artists, Michelangelo, Raphael. He trained with Raphael's best pupil, Giulio Romano, and he dedicated, he specialized in illuminated codices, the best known being the Farnese Hours, made for Cardinal Farnese, which is now in the Morgan Library in New York. And he also innovated on this tradition by individualizing this technique and making these small format individual independent paintings like this one, which were made for private devotion. And he's considered the best miniaturist and illuminator of the Renaissance. And he shows great skill, if you can see, of how he incorporates the texture and tone of the support into the painting. And he also, a critic that was contemporary to Clovio's, Francisco de Holanda, wrote that his paintings were like a snowfall on the painting because his technique included a tiny, very small series of stippling of dots of how he put the colors and the pigments on. And also, the art historian that we know that is Giorgio Vasari, in his work of the lives of the most excellent painters, sculptors, and architects, referred to Clovio as the Michelangelo of miniatures. And in fact, this work represents and is inspired, represents the risen Christ, and it's inspired by a sculpture by Michelangelo, which is in the church in Rome of Santa Maria sopra Minerva. So what he's inspired in that composition, sculptural composition, but he paints it with an architectural context, this beautiful landscape with the blues and the greens, and he adds a purity cloth. And as you focused on it before, this work is actually signed by Clovio in the lower right-hand corner. Now the frame, as I said, these were for private devotion, individual works, very small, and the frame is from the time period and can actually be opened so that the viewer, the collector at the time, could hold the piece very closely to admire just the great technique of the painting. And now it's painted on vellum, which Clovio used only the very highest quality, almost perfect, smoothest surface. And this is also why this work is on view for a few weeks until March 9th, but then it will rest for best conservation. Now, Giulio Clovio is also known to us thanks to a great portrait of him by El Greco. El Greco was also an artist from the Territorial Republic of Venice who came to Rome. Clovio, who was the elder and established artist, protected and helped introduce El Greco to the right circles and even helped him stay in the Farnese Palace. So El Greco's portrait of Giulio Clovio was commissioned by Farnese during El Greco's stay in Rome and shows an elderly Clovio holding in his hands his Farnese Hours, which is considered his masterpiece, and that work is in the Capodimonte Museum in Naples. And another work of El Greco, which is the expelling of the merchants from the temple, which is today in the Minneapolis Institute of Art, includes 4 portraits of artists of the Renaissance. None other than Titian, Michelangelo, Raphael, and you guessed it, Giulio Clovio, with those 3. So that signifies a lot of what El Greco thought of Clovio. Now, Clovio's works were also admired in Spain from the time of Carlos V and were collected by Philip II and his court. And there were works of his in the library of the Monastery of El Escorial. They even inspired the illuminators working there at the library. And all of these works from El Escorial were taken, or left Spain at the moment of the War of Independence against Napoleon. So in a way, this work, which is the first work of Clovio to be incorporated into the Prado's collection, is kind of a recuperation of those lost works. However, it has a different provenance. It is from a Spanish family collection before it was acquired by the collector who donated it to American Friends of the Prado Museum. And we just invite everyone to come back and enjoy it today, if you can, before March 9th. And the only other work of Clovio's that we know of that is in Spain is in the Lázaro Galdeano Museum in Madrid. So we thank Pilar Conde, Gutierrez del Alamo again for giving this work to American Friends of the Prado a few years ago. We are very happy to have helped add this masterpiece to the Prado's collection. Thank you to all of our members and donors who make this and all of our projects possible. We encourage you to find out more about American Friends of the Prado and the Fundación Amigos of Museo del Prado. Join us, and we hope you will be able to come enjoy this beautiful work within the next few weeks. Thank you.